All right, we live. If you can hear me, put a one in the comment. See if I get to the comment section. Do this is a public chat. All right, let's see if we can get everybody in here. Let's get everybody in here before we launch the live session. Hope everyone is doing well. You can hear me, put a one in the chat. You can hear me, put a one in the chat. If you can hear me, put a one in the chat. All right, nice. Appreciate that, Pin 9617. Appreciate that. Okay, so I want to do some Q&As today. Happy Friday to everyone. Hope all is well. But I want to do some Q&As today. I want to get into that. I also want to get into the topic. I had somebody who asked me about Saul Palmetto, and I want to get into that as well. So I want to get into that conversation. And I also want to get into the conversation of how everything is coming downstream. So a lot of times, people, the product, your hair loss product is probably not working because the fact that uh, the problem is coming downstream, and by the time you see your hair thinning, um, I'm sorry, the problem's coming upstream, and by the time you see your hair thinning, that's a downstream problem. But first, let's get to. Let me check the comment sections. Salute. I hope all is well. Um, Hope all is well with each and every one of y'all. So let's get into the conversation about I had somebody ask me about they asked me they was watching the video, they left the comment and they wanted to know which saw palmetto that I use with my clients. And that wasn't a it's not a bad question, uh, but it's not the the best question. And what tends to happen and what I find with a lot of guys is that a lot of guys are having issues with products that they're using, the products they say that's not working, or they're still experiencing hair loss, or they're not experiencing any hair growth, is because because the first thing you have to do is you have to figure out what type of hair loss you have. You gotta understand that, because if not, you're just buying stuff blindly. You gotta understand what caused the hair loss. So if you don't understand what caused the hair loss, what type of hair loss you have, then you're just buying products blindly. And I don't know, I don't know you all, but I typically don't buy products blindly. If I'm buying a house, I wouldn't buy a house. If I'm buying a car, I wouldn't buy a car blindly. Shoot, these days, I mean, I'm married, but if if I wasn't married, I wouldn't be messing with any chick, bro, any girl blindly either. And so it's just a lot of things that we do. Let me plug this in. That we do that's blindly, and that's the reason why you're not getting the results that you're looking for. So that's number one. You can't get the products blindly. So a guy asked me about the saw palmetto, and what we should have went down with his question should have been, or it would have been a better question, let me say that, is that trying to figure out what the cause and what kind of hair loss. Then from there, once we identified the cause and the stage of hair loss, then the next stage that I would get into, and this is what I do with my clients all the time, is that now we got to get the blood work. We got to get data to confirm the cause. We have to get some blood work, and then of course we get context like, hey, is it family history? Kind of give me your what has happened in your family. For example, I had a client who he ended up realizing that there was a death in the family, and that was a start of he started experiencing hair loss. And then of course throughout his life he had some other stressful events that happened, and then of course he started to lose his hair to the point that where he was his hair became he became it became severe for him, which makes it a lot harder to grow your hair once you get into that particular stage when it gets severe. So that's why you want to start first, understand the cause and understand what type of hair loss you have, because again, Hair loss works from upstream and then it's downstream. Upstream is like, any stress on your system, if inflammatory markers. That's why we need your blood work, because we got to check to see if it's your inflammatory markers. We have to check to see if it's your vitamin D. We have to check to see if it's iron. It's just like several things you just want to check. Just want to, make sure you're just clear. Because again, hair loss happens upstream. You don't see it until it comes downstream, and that's when you start to see your hair thinning. But the problem is happening way before you can see it. And the other thing is that once you get that data, now you know what the cause is. The next thing you want to go into is that it helps you, because you're not just picking products randomly. You're picking products based off of data, and so when guys are picking products that are not based on data, then the product itself becomes ineffective. Not because that's not a great product, it's due to the fact that it's a mismatch. That's what it is. It's just a mismatch. You have a good product, but it's not for you. It's for somebody else, their situation. And another thing is that you might go to pick natural products where you that might be your first line. I don't know if you all are watching NBA right now, but you got the Knicks. They're in the NBA finals, and I think you have San Antonio and LKC. I haven't really been following it, so but I just know that that's kind of the situation right now. But my point being is that you have, as a coach, you got to have your first string and you have your second string, and you're basing it off of strategy. So when you're looking at natural products, you got to understand what type of hair loss you have and your situation, and that's going to determine if your natural products are going to be first string or if it's going to be second string. And that's another reason why you want to know, you want to get this particular data. If you got any questions, definitely put your questions in the comment section, because I'll be answering your questions as well. So what works for another person just won't work for everybody else. So somebody may have used natural products, but that natural products may not work for you. You might need something else, or you might need a different type of strategy. The order of the products that work for this person, that same order may not work for you. So you might see a video that I did, and you're like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go get those products, and that doesn't because it worked for me doesn't mean it's gonna work for you. If you see another YouTuber or somebody on TikTok or Instagram, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So what you're doing is that you're buying things blindly. So that's why we want to get the data. So with my clients, that's what we focus on: blood work, confirming the cause, and then from there we're able to build from there. Now we're able to map out exactly what we need based on that particular data. Another reason why you need this data is because you gotta not only know what tools you need to know you need, but again, what order that you're going to be using the products, the timing of the products, the level of consistency and intensity you need as well when you're using these particular products. Because if you're winging it, what ends up happening is that the risk is so high, you only have so many hair growth cycles, right? And what happens is that a lot of guys are winging it so much that it's like 2 or 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years, that it becomes a point to where they may or may not have an opportunity to grow back, or it just takes a lot longer to grow back. And the hill, the mountain that they have to climb to try to grow back is steeper, versus, let's say, if you catch it within the first 6 months, first year, whatever the case may be, then the mountain you have to climb is not as steep as somebody who's waited 5 years. Not to say somebody who's waited 5 years can't grow hair back. It's just to say that you guys got two different types of different experiences. You know what I mean? Somebody who been playing basketball and then took 3 weeks off, versus somebody who was playing basketball and took 2 years off. If you get back into the game, the body's going to be a little bit different. It's just the way it is. Um, so that's why you don't want to wing it and try to, you know, uh, do this yourself, or you can risk permanent loss. So definitely get with a pro, get with somebody who can put together a solid plan for you, and get things together for you when it comes to your hair loss. Is DHT noticeable on the scalp? You can see the effects of DHT, but in terms of, can you actually see it like liquid? No, you're not going to be able to see it, but you can see the effects. And DHT is also it's midstream, so it's a midstream problem. that somebody has. Because DHT isn't what started your hair loss, it was a reaction to what happened upstream. So it could have been dietary issues, it could have been stress, inflammation, the food that you're eating. Over time, right? Your body can only take so much over time, and everybody's body's going to be different. So, two people can be eating, unhealthy, right? But those two individuals, timing in terms of how resilient or resistant their body is going to be entirely different because we're just different individuals, right? And so, but the point of it is that if it's your diet, if it's your sleep, if it's a combination of these particular things, because it's not always an isolated event, it's always going to be a layered event that happens. And so that's all upstream. It puts a lot of stress on the body. The body goes into a deficit. And for hair to grow and thrive, it needs to be in a surplus. Your body goes into a deficit. And then all of a sudden, what happens midstream is things under the surface of your scalp starts to change. Your tissue starts to change. DHT, now your follicles become more sensitive to DHT because, again, your body is reacting, it's trying to protect itself to what happened upstream. So it's midstream, and then downstream is when your hair starts to thin. That's where you start to figure out, oh, okay, there's something actually happening. But you're reading the symptoms like, oh, I need to grow my hair back because I'm losing my hair. You're not reading the symptoms like there's a system problem. And what happens is that people, not intentionally, but sometimes you might think that your hair and your body are not working on the same system in which they are part of the same system. They're not working in s- they're not separate from each other. But yeah, that's a good question. If you got beard questions, put your beard questions in the comments as well too. I'm doing beard questions as well too. So put your beard questions in the comments. Peace, what's going on? Malik, what's going on? What's going on? So yeah, so that's what I would say, that if you are buying products, don't buy it blindly. You can join the community if you want a free hair consultation. Definitely, we can do a free hair consultation, and we can go from there. I'm putting the free hair consultation right there, the link if you want to do that, and you can get a little bit more clarity on your situation. How much of hair loss is due to dehydration? That is a great question, but it would be very tough to measure that unless we measured your body in real time. Uh, but dehydration definitely plays a part. If your body is dehydrated, then what tends to happen is your body begins to deprioritize your hair, and it's going to prioritize your liver, your heart, your thyroid, your all the organs, the vital organs you need to survive. So does being hydrated, is that important? Absolutely. It's like the basis of life, right? H2O. If you don't have water, then it's going to be tough for for your body to thrive in the long term. In the short term, yeah, you can get away with it, but over time, of course, your body can only take so much. But yeah, being dehydrated, I mean, that definitely can play a part in and we're talking about over a long period of time. We're not talking about, oh man, I was dehydrated yesterday. We're not talking about a 24-hour dehydration because your body can take that. We're talking about, this is a habitual habit that's happening day and 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 day over the long period of time. What's good? What's going on, emphatic man? So, but again, it's layered. So it's not just one incident. I had another guy who he ended up, he wasn't sleeping, and I see that with a lot of guys, a lot of my clients, 9 out of 10, I would say 99% of my clients, a lot of times where we find a lot of issues that's happening is that part of the reason is that they're not sleeping. What I mean by they're not sleeping, they're not going to sleep. They're going to sleep between 11:30 and 2:30, right? So in between that particular range, which is very dangerous because then it's going to be very tough. You can have all the products you want because things won't work out the way that you wanted to work out because you don't have the growth signal. You need a growth signal, and part of how you get the growth signal is that you need to be sleeping within a period of time. You need to be in bed by 10 p.m. because your body goes through a rebuild, and it rejuvenates and regenerates itself within a certain time frame. Your biological clock and your hair growth cycle are connected. They're like one. And so anytime your biological clock is off, then your hair cycle is going to be off. And so now you're going to start finding you have your hair growth cycle is going to shorten. So every time your hair growth cycle comes around, your hair is going to get shorter and shorter and shorter, especially in the areas where you tend to be a lot more sensitive. The your hairline, you find that your mid scalp, right? North mid scalp, I'm sorry, your front mid scalp, your back mid scalp, and then also your crown as well. Those are typically some of the sensitive areas when it comes to your follicles. And so when you're not getting the sleep that you need, then of course you don't have the growth signal. You can get you can use things like finasteride, but again, finasteride is only there uh, to block the DHT, and the DHT is only there because it's in response to what happened upstream, whatever whatever your lifestyle was, whatever was going on in your life at that particular time, uh, whether that may be you just not sleeping, you're sleeping at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning, right? So that's what happens upstream. And then all of a sudden now your bodies are trying to adjust to that. So then now your follicles become more sensitive to DHT because you got to think about it. When you are like 15, 16, you have an abundance of DHT in the body, right? And for the most part, you didn't lose your hair. So it's not that it's the DHT, or you would have lost your hair when when you had an abundance of DHT when you 14, 15, 16. It's when you kind of get older. So for some people, everybody has a different range. Some people may be 21. I'm seeing it a lot younger because a lot of kids are just not, a lot of young dudes are just not going to sleep. They stand up all night playing video games or, watching certain things, scrolling, doing what they do. But so yeah, your follicles become more sensitive. Then the DHT is there to as a result of that because your body's responding, and then all of a sudden you start to see your hair start to thin at that point. But again, when you see the sign, when you see that alarm system go off, you don't you you do what you know what you can do, right? So it's not that guys are not trying, you're trying. You just doing what you know, what you think is the best thing to do, but you need a plan. If you don't have the right plan for your situation, then of course you can waste a lot of time and money. High cortisol could be the culprit. High cortisol is part of it, right? High cortisol is definitely part of it. I mean, high if you have a lot of cortisol that's getting dumped into the blood, that definitely increases inflammation over a long period. And we're talking about over a long period of time. That increases inflammation. Inflammation becomes a problem, right? Because then now your blood flow now the vessels get squeezed. Now you're not getting all the nutrients, oxygen, and things that you're needing to the vital parts of your body. If you're not getting those particular things that you need to the vital parts of your body, then at that point your hair, the things that's going on underneath your scalp, starts to shift at that point. So now it's starting to shift. Then of course now your follicles become a little bit more sensitive to things like to DHT because again DHT is there as a reaction. It's not there because you know DHT has always been there. The androgen has always been there. It's not like it just came. It's not like it just got there. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I just got here today. No, it's been there. It's just over time, due to lifestyle choices, your body starts to respond, and now your body is not as resilient as it once was. Yeah, sleep is a link to a lot of things. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Lost my hair at 22 from eczema. From eczema. Okay. Okay. Is it possible to regrow your hair utilizing natural hair supplements? So let's go back to what I was just sharing with you is that before you pick up natural supplements, you first have to identify the cause and the stage of hair loss. Then you need to get blood work and data to confirm what's going on. That's the very first thing. So, if if the data and what was the cause and what your situation, depending on your situation, um, and if we find that, hey, if we utilize this tool could help, then it possibly can, but after we've gone through the whole protocol, if we haven't made sure that we understand the cause, and we haven't, and then we can link the cause, the blood work, we can link that to a solution. Now we got something to link it to because we got data to link into. But if we don't have the data and we just playing Russian roulette, then you kind of just leaving it up to chance. So that's number one, I would say. Then the other parts of your question is, or is it absolutely mandatory to use minoxidil and finasteride? So it kind of goes back to just the same answer I just gave. You got to go through those checkpoints before you start to uh, connect a solution to the problem. First, you got to know what the problem is. Not like, oh, I see it. Yeah, I see the problem. I lost my hair. No, you see symptoms. You don't know what the core issue, the cause of it. You got to get to that. You don't understand what's going on with your blood work. Is your inflammatory markers are high? Is it your liver? Is it your vitamin D? Is it your it can just be a list of things, because again, if if you have minoxidil, for example, you can have minoxidil, but if you don't have the trigger, if you don't have the hair growth trigger, then you may not be successful with minoxidil. And also, only roughly half of the people, or yes, about 40 to about 40, it's like 40 to 60%, 40 to 60% of people are successful with minoxidil. So, essentially 46% of people could be successful, and then 40 to 60% of people may not be successful with minoxidil. But again, at the end of the day, you need um, you need the body to function properly for all these other, finasteride, minoxidil supplements, for them to be able to function as well. But without the body being in a surplus, then some of these things are going to struggle to work at a 100% capacity. Uh, is it true that the natural herbs are weaker and won't work for thin temples? So natural herb, the thing when you're dealing with natural, anytime you're dealing with the natural resources, um, you can have two different. So let's say you're growing a garden in the back of your yard, right? And you have, let's say, cabbage, right? Cabbage. My grandmother, this is a true story. My grandmother loved cabbage. She put a little salt on that joint, you know what I mean? Some pepper. I ain't lying, it was good. It was good. Anyhow, let's say you got your cabbage. My grandmother, she always grew cabbage in the back of her yard. Now, those two cabbages won't have they won't have the same potency of nutrients, and they won't have the same level of nutrients, because that's just not how nature works, right? It's just not how nature works. It doesn't work that way. It works that way if you're in a lab. Like, you can grow two different cabbages, because you have more control over the inputs. When you're into nature, you don't have as much control over the inputs, right? That's just how nature is. In the lab, you can grow two cabbages the same size, but in nature, without influence of outside sources, you can't do that. So when you're getting natural products, they're not always equal in potency. So you can get something that's natural, and it also depending on the season, right? So it also depends on the season as well too. When that particular a natural product is, some products are in season, some are out of season. Like if you go get blueberries during, or strawberries in certain seasons, they're just not the best, or watermelon, they're just not the best. So to answer your question, um, when it comes to natural products, when you're dealing with natural products, you also have to understand that you're dealing with variables where things may not have the same potency just by its nature, versus if it's something in the lab, then when it's something in the lab, then it's manufactured, and you can control the inputs. Therefore, you can control the outputs because you can do a whole lot more testing that way. Um, so they're definitely not going to be stronger than anything that's synthetic. It's not going to be stronger than something that's synthetic, just because by its nature you're able to test something that's synthetic, and you can get that thing that's synthetic to 100%, versus if you're seeing something in nature, you have no control over that to the extent that that you can. So that's what you're dealing with. So I don't look at it as are herbs weaker. I look at it from a standpoint of, you have to understand that there's just trade-offs. When you're dealing with something synthetic, then the trade-off that you're making is going to be side effects. When you're doing something natural, the trade-off that you're trading off is the strength of it, the strength of the natural, but it has a lower side effect profile. And again, you also have to start off with what is the cause of your hair loss, because it doesn't matter that choice that you're making, that choice needs to come after you've already identified if that's the right product. Because again, if you're a coach and you're coaching a basketball team, you have to decide what's going to be your you know first your the who's going to come off the bench and who's going to start. And that's how you have to begin to understand, because you may not need to lead with natural products, or you may can lead with natural products. That might be your first line, or natural products might be your second line. But at the end of the day, if you don't identify what the cause is, what's the stage is to match that product to your actual cause, if you don't know your blood work, all these uh, um, other aspects, then the conversation about what product you should use doesn't matter until you can begin to identify that. Because at that point, you'll just be playing Russian roulette, and you may not get the more than likely you may not get the results that you want. Somebody may hit it, what I mean? It's like the lotto. Somebody's gonna hit the lotto at some point, but everybody won't hit the lotto because you're just playing a game of Russian roulette. There's nothing, you can't control that. How much does any analysis cost to identify the problem and have to get a game plan to put together? Well, right now I put a link. I'm gonna put a link here. You want to? I got a link. You can hit the link. I do free hair loss consultation, so you can hit the link. We can start there. So I just hit the link. Boom, click the link, and start getting a free hair loss consultation. But let me see. She said that they won't work without really saying it is true for natural versus Hims product. Yeah. So that I don't even start with for me, I don't go into the product conversation, because how can we talk about, it's like you got a car, right? And your engine is broke, and we already talking about um your engine is broke, and we already talking about different different parts. Like, I'm coming to you like, yeah, man, I got this part and I got this part, but I haven't even give you a diagnostic to tell you what's wrong with the engine, for you to say, okay, if this is wrong with my engine, if my gasket is blown, or if it's whatever it is, then you can decide which direction to go in. You can be like, okay, maybe if I want to go in this, or maybe if I can just go to AutoZone, I could probably go to AutoZone and get it cheaper. Or maybe I need to go this direction, or maybe shoot, you know what? I got to get a new engine. Like, you don't go to the car shop and say you got an engine problem, right? And then before y'all figured out what's wrong with the engine, you talking about, here's the product, here's the solution. I wouldn't go to nobody who's doing that. I would first figure out, let's get a diagnostic. Let's figure out what the issue is. Why is this issue is doing this? And then from that point on, then now we can say, okay, well, what can we do to fix this? That's the that's right. I don't know if this person you talked to did that or not, but that's the way you want to always operate, just in life in general. That should just be a principle in life. You never go buy anything I mean, you might buy a candy bar or something like that, like something that. But if anything, when it comes to your body, you just don't put anything on your body or in your body without first having a diagnostic and really getting the data and then going from there. At least having a better understanding of that. Yeah, but I'm going to keep paying that subscription the rest of my life. I'm still giving it a chance. Okay, cool. Give it a chance. Give it a chance. Do your thing. I also have to get insurance now since I'm internship, so I can't get a checkup for blood work. Yeah, man, that's tough. That's tough. It's tough, man. So you gotta. It's definitely, man, just trade offs, man. Everything in life is trade offs. That's all it is. Life is all about trade offs. That's it. They say you have to keep taking hymns for the rest of your life if it works, which some people call cat. Yeah, you got to really look at your blood work, because at the end of the day, for me, how I look at product, I'm not gonna go, or how I look at this, it's not about the product. The product doesn't matter. What matters is your body. That's the first thing. You know what I mean? Like what's going on with the body? Let's see what's going on with the body, because the hair follows the body. The body doesn't follow the hair. So we need to go to the top. I'm not going to the bottom. I'm not going to the middle. I'm not going to middle management, upper management. I'm going to the CEO. Who's the CEO? The CEO is the body. That's where we start with. And then from there, then we begin to, even that's how you, even when I'm solving problems, I go straight to the core. What's the problem? Okay, then now we can figure out solutions. But I don't try to figure out the solution without figuring out the problem first. And you seeing your hair thin is not the problem. That's just a symptom, but that's not the problem. Would a consultation be able to encounter whether the hair loss is related to uh, uh, insulin resistant? Yeah, consultation. Yep, yep. So with my clients, we do blood work. We're able to see if we check their insulin A1C3. We check their vascular health. Their blood vessels. Their basically their pipes. It's like checking your pipes. It's like if I was a plumber. If you want me to come in and check your pipes to see if your pipes are great in the house or your apartment, that's what I'm gonna do. If you want to see if there's anything clogged, that's what we do as well. So with my clients, that's what we do. But yeah, click the link, man. Click the link. If you're serious about it. Um, but yeah, that's the most important thing, man, that you want to do. But there's also a list of blood work that for my clients that I give them, because you just don't look at one um, marker. You got to look at another marker, and you have to cross reference markers, because if not, then you could be making a uneducated um, in terms of the process. When you're looking at a marker, you just don't look at a marker in isolation. You want to look at that marker in conjunction with something else, right? So you got to look at two things, and then that way you can begin to say, oh, okay, you know what? If your glucose is unoptimized, then when I'm looking at a client, and the client might say, oh yeah, well, this is what happened. I ate late. I eat late after 9. That's context that I need. Oh, okay. Because now there's context to this marker. Now when I'm looking at your inflammatory markers, now there's a better story, versus if I'm looking at this in isolation. It's a little bit difficult for us to and we have a physician assistant on board, so it's difficult for us to look at your markers and be like, oh, it's this, or it could be this. Like it's very hard. So we like to look at things in context. So we give our clients a list of, hey, this is the blood work that you should get. That's very important. Yeah. But without the blood work, man, it's like driving a car without a dashboard. Nobody's going to drive a car without a dashboard. Nobody's going to drive a car without a dashboard at all. You know what I mean? It's like you get a heat bill, or you get an electric bill, but they don't tell you how much electricity you're using. They don't tell you how much you're using or anything. They don't even tell you how much they're charging you for how many kilowatts you're using. That's crazy. You just get a bill and say, all right, pay this. Like, well, what I'm paying for? Like, how much electricity am I using? What's the price per kilowatt? Like, you need to know all these particular things, right? Nobody's gonna go that route. I'm just saying. So again, you need to know your blood markers, but not just know them, but you need to know the exact ones. And then you also need to know what needs to be, you need to look at it from a hair lens. So you also need to know, uh, is it optimal for hair growth? Because you can go to your doctor, and your doctor say, oh, everything's normal. Yes, everything normal for you to live. They don't see a disease per se, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're is optimal for hair growth. So it's optimal for your lungs, your liver, your kidneys. Yeah, it's optimal for that. Or it's okay for that. It's normal for that, but it's not optimal for hair growth. Remember, your body is going to prioritize itself first, and it's going to deprioritize the hair. So you just have to understand that part. It's going to prioritize the body, it's going to deprioritize the hair. The hair is a luxury. So that's why um I gotta hit my brother up. My brother's birthday was yesterday. That's why you need the right markers, and you need somebody to look at it from a hair lens and not a general health lens. What is I gotta no, hey, I'm on live. Hey, I'm on live. Let's see, what'd you say? Can you speak a little bit about your education or sort of well, yeah, I'm a certified trichologist. If those uh who's been around, but if you haven't been around, I'm a certified trichologist. So I've been doing this for over 5 years. I've been able to work with over 500 Black men. So yeah, but yeah, check out my video that I did with one of the clients with Gary. Gary's one of the clients. He's been around for a while. So a lot of guys have been around for a while, but some of you guys might be new. But yes, but I'm a certified trichologist where I focus on hair loss. I don't focus on like you might go to a doctor. A doctor is general health. They're just doing general health. You might go to a dermatologist. Again, that's more generalized. You go to a trichologist. What they focus on is holistic when it comes to your hair. That's the only thing that they focus on. And so that's what we look at. And then we have physician assistant. If you don't know what a physician assistant is, a board certified physician assistant, and you can Google physician assistant, board certified physician. So that we have a board certified physician assistant as well too. Any other questions? We got beer. If you got any beer questions, I'll be taking some beer questions as well too. Yeah, but yeah, check out my Gary video. I posted that like I think probably a month ago with Gary. Check him out. I did with Gary, where he was like his whole mid scout was gone, and we put a plan together. Gary was like very consistent. Like he didn't take no days off. Um, Gary was one of the best, probably one of my, one of the I want to say best, but he was one of the uh individuals who was just because I have a lot of great clients. I have a lot of great clients. Um, but Gary was he was just very interactive, very inactive. He just wanted to know everything, and he followed the plan to a T. But yeah, I have really great clients, and Gary's definitely one of them. But yeah, go check out that video. It's one of my case studies. All right, so we got 10 more minutes. If you got any questions, then I'll answer some more questions. If not, then I'm gonna go into my meeting and go from there. Any other questions? Questions? So I'm gonna put this link here again. Check this out here. Again, you don't have to come to me. Um, Go to your dermatologist, go over there, see if they can help you out there. One thing I could just tell you that a lot of times, a lot of the clients that come to me, their story is, hey, I went to a dermatologist. Hey, I went to a doctor. Hey, they did everything. They did everything, but they went to someone, and all that person did was say, hey, they just gave them a pill or a liquid, or they really didn't really take the time. This is what they're telling me. They really didn't take the time to break down their situation. They really didn't take the time to understand their history. They really didn't take the time. They said, hey, take this, I'll see you in 12 months, or take this, I'll see you in 6 months. So that's what the clients that I work with, that's what they've told me. And that's what happens. So, and if you're not educated going into talking to a dermatologist or a doctor, then yeah, you're gonna be in there for like 15 minutes and then you're gonna be out. If that. But with my clients, what we do is that we have weekly check-ins, and monthly we meet on a monthly basis. So we're constantly in communication with my clients to make sure they're good, to make sure everything is going accordingly, to make sure if we got to pivot, to make sure they're scalp, to make sure we're looking at their markers, to make sure they're doing all the lifestyle things that we figured out that they need to be doing outside of whatever's going on with the hair. Are they doing all the things they need to do for the body itself? Because again, it's holistic. You don't want to treat hair in isolation. So if you're just using a product and you're putting on your scalp, then if that works for you, then great. So yeah, yeah. So again, and I'm not here to throw any salt on the dermatologist, because I have some dermatologist friends, some colleagues that are really great people. But at the end of the day, they can only do so much. They only have so much time, and that they're willing to do. For me, I work with my clients. I'm Monday through Sunday. My clients right now, they can text me right now. I had a client that texted me. We just got on talking, and they can text me right now, and then I'm gonna be answering. Hey, man, what was that? What was that? What I was supposed to do? How long am I supposed to do that for? Boom, I'm able to text them right back quickly. So all of my clients, I'm a phone call, I'm a text away. We need to get on a video call like this. We can get on a video call. I make time for all of my clients, and we spend time, so that way you get what you need, versus you just kind of become like a number. You know what I mean? So that's how. And I don't and I don't take a lot of people, just due to the fact that it is so personal, and I only have so much time, that I just can't manage uh, more than what I can manage. So that's why I only have like a few slots left for my consultations, and they open up like every 60 days. My consultations open up. So once someone's finished, then that when a spot opens up, but a spot doesn't open up until somebody finishes. So it's and it takes about 12 months, 12 to 14 months for someone to finish. And even after you finish, I give you a maintenance plan. I just don't leave you and out there to dry and be like, all right, cool, see you later, bye. Like, I still got clients who finished, and they still text me to this day, hey man, what you think about this, or what I got to do, or they may have certain questions, and I've already given them a maintenance plan, so it's something that they can use. So even if they came back to me and be like, hey, this is what I'm experiencing, I text them, hey, what's going on, man? How's it going? Some of my clients had kids. Some of my clients I know going off, and you know in a year's time, stuff happens in people's lives. So you start to form these really great relationships, and you start to know a lot more about the individual. And that's very important, because whatever's going on in your life is going to impact your hair. So I need to know those particular things. Whether it may be, I had a client who had a newborn, so I had to adjust his plan, because I knew if you got a newborn, you're gonna be up late. You know what I mean? You're not gonna get the best of sleep. So I had to adjust his plan according to what was going to happen in his lifestyle, so he didn't lose any results, or just flat just stop. Because you can get, when having a child, what I mean, all of a sudden you've been consistent up to this point, then you got a child coming into play, you could become inconsistent. So I had to help him adjust his plan. I had another client who went on vacation. And so on vacation, you don't really want to do a lot of things. You on vacation, you trying to relax, what I'm talking about? So I adjusted their plan according to them going on vacation. So these are things that we have to take in consideration, that when you're doing these things by yourself, you're not thinking, oh man, okay, I need to adjust my plan because this is about to happen. And a lot of times people fall off, not because they're not motivated, is because they just don't have the right plan. um, in place. Or, I had a client who lives in Nevada, and Nevada gets really dry. So, your scalp is going to get drier versus somebody who lives in Tampa, Florida, where it's a lot humid. Different environments requires different things you put on your scalp. So we have to adjust the plan according to your environment. I got a client who's in school, right? So they're in school, they're working out, they got a job, what I mean? They got a lot of things they're going on. So you got to adjust their plan. Everybody's different. You can't treat everybody the same. And so these are the things that we do for our clients. So I got a client right now in Belgium, and he works late. He's a doctor and he's working late. So we have to adjust. I had another client who works on third shift. So their sleep is going to be off. So we have to create a whole protocol, a sleep protocol, because we know that, oh, you know what? Your mitochondria is going to be off. So now we have to adjust for that. So it's not just what you're putting on your scalp. It's not just, trying to grow your hair back. It's, man, you got to make you have to make a commitment to understanding the body and what's going on with the body, and that's what we put together a holistic plan. So not just say, hey, here's your hymns, and then you out the door. That's not gonna cut it. That ain't gonna cut it. But I went on a little rant. I'm gonna stop ranting. I mean, they can help, like, say so much their skin products are nice though. Yeah, because yeah, dermatologists, derma means skin. Derma and skin. So that's what they're really good. They're really good at the skin. I mean, that's what they're good at. But um, yeah. Do you have any clients, different nationalities? Or does hair loss have to be culture specific? Yeah, I have different nationalities. Yep, I got, like I said, I got Belgium. I have, yeah, different nationalities. Yeah. The body is the body. I don't think that nationality, I don't think your heart, for the most part, your liver, your kidneys, your blood vessels, the body's the body, the only thing that's going to be different is the hair texture. And so everything is personalized based on the individual anyway. So um everybody is not going to, you know not going to get, hey man, here's a product. Hey, here's the same product I gave to that particular person, because everybody's entirely different. What you need is going to be different than what somebody else need. You might be in a different country, you might be in a um, different part of the world where the weather is different. You might, your weight might be different. You might be skinny. You might be overweight. Everybody's a little bit different. You might have an itchy scalp. You might have eczema, or psoriasis. So everybody's going to be a little different. So what's going on, Mark? What's going on? Listen, I got one more minute, one more question, and I got to run. So I got to running into a meeting. And I just wanted to get on here and talk about the process. But again, man, this is just information in terms of, if you're going to do it by yourself, if you're the guy that says, hey, you know what, I'm going to just do it. I'm the DIY guy, which is fine. If you're that guy who's going to put the house together themselves, great. What I would say, before you start putting products on your scalp, before you when you should be just as educated about your body, your hair, your scalp as anyone else. Matter of fact, more than anyone else, because it's you. You'll know more information than I would, or a dermatologist or a doctor would. Just because people have these degrees, that doesn't mean anything, to the extent that, they went to school for a very long time and they understand information. You can understand the same information if you just took the time to study it. That's it. It's like you can understand it, and you can, experiment on yourself. But my point being is that, you want to start by knowing why you need it. Why do I need minoxidil? Why do I need finasteride? Why do I need saw palmetto? Why do I need peppermint oil? Why do I need rosemary? Why do you need it? And by knowing that, in order to know that, you need to identify the cause and the stage of your hair loss. That's what you have. Then you get blood work and data to confirm the cause, because you need the entire picture. And then you can begin to say, okay, Now that I understand this part, now I know what kind of tool do I need. Okay. Do I need a hammer? Do I need a screwdriver? Do I need a drill? Like, now you know what you need. But if you don't have that process and you just go into the solution route without really truly understanding the problem, then your data is going to be off. The product is not going to work 100%. I get guys who come in with minoxidil, they've used minoxidil for forever, but the product doesn't work 100%, or maybe they don't have enough enzyme, right? To be able to transfer the minoxidil over into an active, because you got to understand, when you're using minoxidil, it's inactive. When it gets onto your scalp, that's when it becomes active. But that's only if you have the enzyme to convert it. Um, but that's a whole nother conversation. But the point of it is that you just got to establish having the foundation before you start putting stuff on your scalp. That's all I'm here to say. So whether you do it yourself or you go to somebody else, just make sure you always do that first. All right, with that being said, I got to run. It's been fun. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'm here again next Friday. So I'll be tapping in with you all. And yeah, and if y'all get your, if y'all get your sleep, man, get your sleep. Make sure you get your sleep, man. That's important. If you staying up playing video games, watching things you shouldn't be watching, scrolling and or Netflixing and things of that nature, man. And you're not putting your sleep quality first. It's okay. It's a time and place for everything, but just make sure you get your sleep, man, because at the end of the day, you're gonna be older longer than you're gonna be younger. That's it. All right.